Yeah. And so let's start off with what we think is a very creative way of launching your book, which will be November 13th. So tell us about your book launch, because that's pretty cool, we think.
My editor and publisher, Tara Huck, came up with the idea of a retro dance party. So it's going to be at the Pet Skull Brewery. We're going to dance and have cake and sign books and music trivia and prizes. It should be a lot of fun.
Now, retro, you're talking about the setting for the novel, right? Which begins in the early 80s, mid 80s, and moves forward, through time. So yeah, it's going to be an 80s dance party.
There's a lot of music in this book, all over the spectrum, different genres of music. And I just put together the playlist for the dance party, and it's mostly 80s music.
And I didn't know what it was, your broadcast log in the first few pages. I'm that's interesting. And they're all chapter titles. And they're songs and they're artists and song titles that are appropriate thematically, but still it reads like, what a radio station of that era would broadcast. Like one that I would listen to.
Well, Eva, her goal is to work in rock radio, and back then it was called AOR, album-oriented rock. Now that format is classic rock. But back then it was real and it was happening, and that's all she wants, and she never gets it. So there's 50 chapters, so I made a sample music log and listed the 50 chapters instead of like a table of contents. So that would be Eva's playlist if she could play anything she wanted.
So the playlist is the title of a song for each chapter, right?
Yes.
And then if you go to the back of the book, you'll actually have a QR code and an address where you can listen to it on Spotify and YouTube, correct?
Yes.
I think that's a great idea.
That's a great idea too.
Well, I want to give something to people that they can take away too.
Sure. Those moments you were just talking about, like she wanted to be at an AOR station, she wanted to play her favorite stuff, and it's so cool. Like that first job she had that she got paid, B93, right? That had the format changed like the day she was starting.
And so typical in radio. That's just what happens.
Did that happen to you ever?
No, but I went to UW La Crosse because my sister went there, and because they had an album rock station. That was great. That was, where do you want to go to school? The one with a good radio station. So I moved there in the fall, and within a few months they switched formats. My main reason of going to school there was gone.
Who switched? Was it a student station?
This was a commercial radio station in La Crosse. It was so awesome, and that's kind of what happened in this book. Is radio is really changing out under her feet.
Right. Yeah. No need to touch the vinyl anymore. It's all programmed. You just have to be there every 10 minutes to say something cute, and then just sit back the rest of the time. That was actually early on. No, I'm not spoilers. It's heartbreaking, right? She was so excited.
Yeah. But she just does get to play records at 2 more radio stations. Real vinyl.
Yeah.
And so, you actually do kind of market the different kind of changes, from going to carts, not albums, to being on carts, actually to CDs, and how that actually affected the actual DJs and things like that. And so there's a lot of, you try to represent it pretty accurately. Like, there's a lot of realism, got the story in there, but this is, part of it is the story of working on radio stations and stuff.
It truly is. There are dozens and dozens of Facebook groups of old people my age, radio announcers, and all they do is share stories. Do you still have the dream? 30 years after I worked in radio, I'm still having that dead air nightmare where I wake up in a panic. There's no record on the turntable, and
So the main character has that dream quite often, and so does some of the other characters. And I believe that. The question I wanted to ask: how about the WKRP dream? Is it, how does that play into? Because that was such a big part of the 80s as well.
Sure.
Especially if you loved and had interest in being a radio
I just wanted to give them a nod.
Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of what happens in this book is a universal experience of radio announcers I would say in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, because so many radio people have been early readers of this, and they'll just say, "Oh my gosh, this happened to me," or "Yeah, I heard this story. It's a radio urban legend of getting locked out of the station and the record is skipping."
On what was the phrase that
it's
was
a
like?
It's
I'm
a Sunday
gonna kill you or
morning
something.
program, and I couldn't believe that programs actually came on vinyl records, because when I played them, they were on reels or cassettes.
Yes.
But this announcer runs out to get a soda down the street or some cigarettes, comes back, and the record is stuck on a preacher going, "And you will go to hell," and "you will go to hell," and that's just a radio urban
And locked
legend.
out. Locked out, can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's fired,
Of course.
because getting fired is a big part of being in radio.
Yeah.
And sharing stories about being fired.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the ticking clock in this book, is was worried about getting fired.
Which is, could happen on the turn of a dime, without necessarily doing anything to do it, kind of at the whim of it. And so part of being a radio DJ is kind of choosing the names and stuff. And so how did you pick the names? Even the real names like Eva Lavatte, and then the stage names and things like that, and names like that.
I heard about this singer, Betty Lavette, about 20 years ago, and that name, I just love the name Lavette. Eva's first name, I had named her Leslie, and then one of my friends said, "Oh, I hate the name Leslie," so I couldn't use that. So I thought, well, what's a name